it is very important to understand that organizations like yours and the leadership that you provide is for others to follow. So, in this whole understanding, people, I think, the economic growth and economic planners after industrialization thought that GDP is the only way to growth. And if GDP, the only way to growth was, it was financial delivery. And people, as a result, used much more of the exploitable resources that they had. Consequently, we are using 1.6 times the Earth's resources today. In, in a question of another 15 years, most of the resources will run out, be it water, be it iron ore, be it aluminium, be it wood, etc. What are your views just as an individual, Sunil, who's such a caring person and so sort of provides so much emotive content in your leadership? What do you think? Is ecology really economy, or economy is the only way to go forward?
So Ranjit, in my views, I mean, it is intertwined, right? Ecology and economy have to go together. And it depends on which way you look at it. I mean, a glass is half full or a glass is half empty, depending on the way you look at it. For example, from a Tata Consumer perspective, right? We put out our, I would say, the ESG strategy and sustainability goals, and doing the right things as a good corporate citizen also pays economic dividends. For example, if I say I need to provide better nutrition, right? I mean, that's doing well. It also transforms my product portfolio. I do better things for the planet, whether it is lower greenhouses, better management of water resources, etc. It's not only doing that, it's also economically beneficial, right? I mean, solar power in a lot of ways is equal to, if not lower than, grid rates, and it's sustainable. Harnessing water not only saves water for the planet, it also gives us better efficiencies. Better sourcing, I mean, as long as you're going with responsible planters, responsible plucking, you know that you'll get better quality, you'll get better yield. And you do better for communities, it ultimately helps us as good corporate citizens. So ecology and economy, in my at least read, Ranjit, it's not one at the cost of the other. Both of them have to feed into each other to make sure that you not only grow today, but you're doing something for the longer term, both for the company as well as shareholders and the environment.
No, that's true, Sunil. But what I think is there is a lot of lip service. For example, everybody is talking about ESG. The reality of ESG has been covered by a lady from Cambridge, whose father was actually Bengali, called Dasgupta, Aisha Dasgupta. She's a demographer and said, how can ESG be bought over by the world when actually the world knows that one element of ESG is missing, and that is population? Unless population drives ESG, how can ESG drive population? So there's a big issue on lip service, for example, on ESG, on many of the things on net zero carbon, etc. Do you as an individual believe that actually that is true, or we are at early stages trying to recognize this whole delivery and interdependence between meaning nature and economics, naturenomics as we call it, you know?
No, Ranjit, you're right. I mean, there is this new term globally called greenwashing, right? I mean, everyone talks about, everyone is making bold statements, but will they ever deliver? Yes. So I would say the jury is out for now. But I would say there are enough good corporates who are doing the right things by ESG. But you're absolutely right. There are people out there putting out targets and goals and numbers which don't actually add up. So I would think if you stay true to the spirit of ESG, and if people look beyond just the numbers and the true spirit of what people are doing and how they're doing it, I do think ESG has the potential to start moving the needle. It will not, I mean, the decades and years and centuries of what we have done to the environment and overall is not going to get reversed very quickly, but people have to move the needle in the right direction. And like I said, I mean, I don't think ESG and economics are, at odds with each other. There would be some places where you've got to make choices, but broadly, I would think as long as you make the right choices, it can work in favor of the company as well.
No, that is true. In my own conversations, meaning, see, I've been speaking to various companies and CEOs like yourself right now. And this time I thought I'll do it myself because it's 10th year of Balipara Foundation Awards. And you all have been, I think, blindly supporting us. And one of the things that I thought I'd say in this very open forum, that your trust on us is greater than what actually you're getting from us. So I'd urge you all to actually see that the money that you invest in us is actually much better paid for the work that you all do. I noticed that your own leadership, that you are very keen on seeing that people are better educated and healthcare is provided. The plantations apart, because it's close to my heart, and I know that challenges that are there, the government structuring itself is not right, and therefore there are all kinds of multi-purpose challenges there with small growers, etc. So I can understand that. But that apart, do you think the strategy of actually outsourcing and actually looking at reducing cost and increasing efficiency globally is the right thing to do when actually outsourcing agents are not audited or monitored, in many cases, not in your case necessarily, for actually, are they looking after their people? Are their people being educated? Are their workers being educated in turn? And the healthcare of theirs taken sort of care of, which you've been doing in many of your organizations, including your very organization and the ones you've taken over. How would you react to that?
No, you're right, Ranjit. I think blindly outsourcing without looking at the net impact, I think is not the right thing. So I would say outsourcing is not bad, but providing you're picking out the right outsourcing partners, A, B, making sure that they provide all the benefits, including both monetary as well as intangibles to their workers and take care of them, B, and C, you're building long-term relationships so that they are also not taking shortcuts, right? Very simply put, the reason I would say outsourcing is beneficial because in a large corporation, there are a lot of overheads, etc., inefficiencies which creep up, which a small, nimble outsourcer avoids and therefore provides greater efficiency. But that shouldn't come at the cost of cutting corners, not giving minimum wages, not providing education, healthcare, etc. I think that's a critical part. But just as a perspective, I would say building a long-term relationship with the outsourcing partners then assures them, saying even while they are recruiting workers, providing you the services, they are also taking a slightly longer-term view and building up their teams to deliver in the future. I think that's a critical piece.
Do you think the evaluation of organizations should move much faster than normal to saying that are they water positive? Are they carbon positive? Are they oxygen neutral? Are they providing soil fertility? If you take a whole benchmark of stuff, which we define this kind of measurement under LEWAC called land, energy, waste, water, air, and carbon, is there an opportunity to see that you be one of the first companies in FMCG to deal it? One of your earlier colleagues, Paul Polman, took the risk, and today they have a big challenge because the stock markets are not rewarding them. They didn't do it in his time, and because of the investments he's made in de-plasticizing, sort of sensitizing the entire supply chain from palm oil onwards, is that it is completely something that a company like yours, if you lead, do you think that it will be sort of dangerously bad, even if you have a 5-year or 10-year perspective?
So 2-3 things, Ranjit. I think if you look at overall the stock markets, companies which have a high ESG score also have normally high shareholder returns. So it's anecdotally proved, saying if you're doing the right thing by overall society and you run a good business, the stock markets do reward you, right? That's number one. I wouldn't comment on any company specific pieces, but I mean, just to give you a Tata Consumer example, in line with the overall Tata Group's philosophy, we put out targets out there. We put out saying we'll be net zero by 2040 across all geographies. We'll be water neutral in all operations by 2030. Zero waste to landfill. 100% of packaging material to be recyclable, reusable, or compostable by 2030. Now, do we have the answers for all of them? No, but we know this is the right thing to do. And we've got to find the right economic solutions to all these issues. We're confident that we can. We don't have all the answers today. But we put it out there because unless we put out targets, we will not go for it. And like I said, in the longer term, I do believe companies which do the right thing on the ESG measures, hand on heart, I mean, actual implementation, will be rewarded by shareholders. And incidentally, you know what, Ranjit, I think most of the big equity investors globally, institutions, they are starting to ask the right questions. I mean, they are coming back saying that, yes, I am an investor in your company, I'm big, but I also want to know these 4 things which you will do or not do going into the future. And they are starting to make choices, responsible choices, I would say. And like I said, I mean, we might not have all the answers today, but we need to have a target which we should strive for.
No, that's excellent. I think, see, as long as you have a direction and as long as you're conscious that we need to sort of move in a direction of the new world where resources are getting more, I wouldn't say it's the bad world in the past because that's the way industrialization was. I think that is really commendable. So I think it's fantastic where you've targets and name. I've seen, had sight of them, and I know that you may not have all the answers, but your intent and direction with people like yourself, I think is absolutely critical. For example, you know, I think it does help in also consumption. When you go to a new market, people are becoming more and more conscious while they're price sensitive. At the same time, they're more and more conscious that let me do good. And therefore, sourcing and place of sourcing has become important. There are many, of course, organizations which are going around stamping what they think is their ISO globally, saying that this is good or that is bad. But I think, you know, if you do what is the right thing based on those targets, you'll definitely come out much stronger. I was wondering, you know, in Dhaka, is there, other than this message of yours, would there be 3-4 things you would like to sort of convey to a market like Bangladesh and the world, because it reaches 2.5 million our delivery, and over 10 years, thanks to the support that TCP and you in particular have given us, we've been able to grow the consciousness. Have we been able to action stuff on the ground? I think, yes, we've been able to change laws and rules, especially in the Northeast, and now the Environment Ministry looks at us. We were rewarded by being the first people in the first day to open the Salmal Sheikh COP this time. So Balipara Foundation was there up front talking about examples of, say, Satush and Pashmina shawls in the Himalayas. So I'm saying there is a reward for the investments that you make with us. But I think the 3-4 messages for people within Bangladesh and outside would be helpful.
No, thanks, Ranjit. So I would start with what the founder of the Tata Group said, right? I mean, the communities that you operate in are it's not that you just do business. I mean, you've got to stay responsible to those communities. And as long as you do, you'll build sustainable long-term businesses. So I would say 3-4 things. Yeah. Overall, ESG or environment, social governance pieces are an imperative, because it's not only the right thing to do, but your investors and, more importantly, your future employees look at that. So your ability to attract talent or attract investments would depend on it. That trend is accelerating. That's number one. Number two, it is not that ESG and economics operate disparately. If you do the right things, yes, you don't blindly go chasing some numbers. As long as you're doing the right things and finding the right solutions, ESG imperatives executed well would deliver economic profits. That's number two. Number three, is you've got to stay true to the spirit of ESG and not just chase a number. You need to have targets which you strive towards. You might miss them, but unless you go towards those numbers, you will not deliver sustainable businesses in the longer term. I would say your statement, ecology is economy, I think is true today, and this will only amplify going into the future.
No, thank you. In fact, working across various Tata companies, I noticed that many of the companies have taken this lead because they're totally so resource dependent on the ground. For example, Tata Steel. I noticed that we have a second 5-year contract with them, and they want us to actually get communities involved in actually this decision making, and they measure how communities are doing in terms of health and hygiene and education. And they and us have been working. And it's very funny that it's not funny actually, it's so real. They told us that, why do you come to us with 1-year contracts? This 1 year, how can we change ecology? Either we believe in you and have a partner, and then if we go wrong, you must correct us. And if you go wrong, we will correct you. That's partnership. He said, we are outsourcing the lungs of the world to you, Ranjit. So, meaning we can't take, there is very little risk because you know more than us. Maybe you don't know what the world knows, and you have done 5 years, you've proved to us the output and deliverables were good. I was wondering that even with TCS, we're doing a measurement mechanism, and we brought together Google, Earth Analytics, and one more company called G-Stick together to measure biodiversity. And this really comes to my ultimate point. Do you think measuring nature, so if we value a tree and we put a valuation of a tree in our balance sheet, saying that, look, we have so much natural assets, will that be of greater delivery to us? And therefore, we will think twice before cutting a tree or reaping a benefit. For example, we've recommended to the government that the Prime Minister should stand up before a financial budget and say, this is the ecological assets of India in terms of land, energy, wastewater, wastewater and carbon. This is what we do for land. These are the kind of standing assets we have, not just forest cover, but this is what a tree can do, etc., etc. Do you think a company like yours could actually say valuing nature is the way forward?
Valuing nature is absolutely important, Ranjit. I mean, because ultimately, that is what you're passing down the generations, and that is what you're leaving behind. And I would think, again, we don't have tangible mechanisms. I think in India, they're still sort of trying to figure out options, right? The various flora, fauna, soil capture, all these kind of things, that is still work in process. But I do think we need robust mechanisms to evaluate what we have. And especially as the world moves towards carbon credits, calculations, etc., I think we need a robust mechanism. Else, things can go awry. I would say we're still at the very, very early stages of having that in place. But unless robust mechanisms of measuring what we have are in place, there's no point of moving forward on things like carbon credits, etc. Because otherwise, I mean, you will have all sorts of players gaming the system.
No, that is right. In fact, that's a discussion that we would like to take forward with you, with a group company like TCS. And we jointly offer a product now globally. We're going to offer it to all TCS clients, with Balipara Foundation being at the heart of the matter of evaluating nature. What we find because of this, and this is my ultimate point, but also with a request that somebody from your organization dials in or comes to Dhaka, we have the world's #1 person who's actually done the economics of biodiversity, exactly the point that you've made. And he has got his knighthood, and I'll send you a write-up on him. He's got more than 200 awards all over, of which we've captured 20. And he's the first person after Rabindranath Tagore who's got a knighthood, and he's called Sir Partha Dasgupta. He was born in Dhaka and then studied in Varanasi and then went on to Cambridge. And his daughter is that person I referred to, Aisha, who's a demographer. So Partha has done not one book, but many books. And he worked in the Treasury Department in the UK, where they're going to launch this valuation of nature. We will give you a write-up of this whole valuation of nature and what can be done. But more importantly, I wish you could send somebody, or we'll record it or whatever, to actually attend this session. And there are many sessions that he's doing, and have a discussion with him. We can also organize a conversation with Partha Dasgupta when he goes back, or here with you, or in the UK, to actually explain what he and Nick Stern are doing towards this valuation economics, it's called. And I think you as a company will greatly benefit, because you do look at new ideas and new innovations. But this is something that's going to rule the world for the next many years to come. So if you can send somebody for this organizational delivery, it'll be great. What he says in Economics of Biodiversity is that even a butterfly and a bee has a role. The point is that we've not been able to capture it. So Walmart, what they did was they did a study of the bee, and they found that 27% or 23% of their turnover would disappear if the bee disappeared, if there was no alternative pollination mechanisms, whether it was the wood, whether it was the food, whether it was not just the honey, whether it was the flowers. So they worked out 27%. I think this is very true of the kind of businesses that you are in. How do you react to this kind of work that has already been done? And do you think that you should be participating in it?
No, absolutely. Ranjit, fully buying into this work. And yeah, the number 23, 25% doesn't surprise me, because absolutely everything starts from agriculture and goes upwards. And for that to prosper, the common bee is probably important. And I would be extremely interested in understanding more details and see how we can leverage this to grow our sustainability credentials.
No, absolutely. We'll try and fix a meeting on FaceTime like this with Partha while we are in Dhaka, because as a contributor, you definitely deserve to. We should give you back something, so we can organize a conversation with him for half an hour with you and your team sometime after. I think ours is 11th, 12th, and 13th. Maybe on the 14th, or maybe on the 11th. I'll check up with you, when it is.
Yeah.
And then we can take it forward. You'll be fascinated to hear him. We had the curtain raiser for the foundation in London, in the London School of Economics, where I was there. And you'll be happy to note that we did mention Tata Tetley, because that's a brand that is known there. And people said, on a spontaneous recall, they're very eco-friendly. Now, it was spontaneous, and I think I can give you the name of some of the students who talked about it. But it was quite interesting that in London School of Economics, when we launched our curtain raiser for this function, that you were well known there, at least the perception is that you're ecologically friendly. So good luck to you.
Thanks, Ranjit.
Thanks a lot, Sunil, for your time, and as always, your cooperation and your inspiration. You remain an inspiration to us to lead the world for this ecological sustainability. Thank you, good luck, and good wishes. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.